There isn't another channel on the entire interwebs that has the amount of old-fashioned content that we have. We've been doing it 4.5 years and we put out an episode every single Friday. I think that's almost 220 episodes of old-fashioned reviews. Hence the nickname Old Fashioned King. Nobody else has as much old-fashioned content as the Virginia is for Grubbers page.
Stay off the cuff, that's OFF. Show them bars to the worldwide net. All the drinks made yet, pass one to me. Blessed he, the old-fashioned king, the old-fashioned king.
Virginia is for Grubbers. We are back again for my favorite time of the year, Old Fashioned Friday season finale of 2024. This episode, we highlight the best old fashions throughout the entire year of 2024. And this particular year was actually the best year that we have ever had as far as the scores are concerned throughout every Friday. If you just tuned into our channel, we are Virginia is for Grubbers. If you're a fan of old fashions, bourbon, whiskey, definitely hit us with a like, subscribe, all that jazz, because every single Friday, we go to a different location or we shoot at our home bar and we review old fashions, whether it's a pre-made old fashioned, whether it's a pre-made old fashioned syrup, or if we're out and about at different restaurants in the DMV area, and sometimes we travel outside of the DMV to find the best old fashions. So today we're gonna go over the top 5 best old fashions of 2024 at all different locations. We have some ties in there. Again, this is the best year that we've ever had, so these scores are all gonna be very high. Let's jump into number 5. It's gonna be at the Hideout, which is located in Honolulu in downtown Waikiki. Again, most of our content is here in the DMV. However, every month we do a different series of where we're gonna go, whether it's location-based, whether it's the type of bourbon they're gonna use. This was a beach-themed month in the summer of 2024, and we hit up Waikiki Beach in Honolulu, and we went to the Hideout, which is located in the Lalo Hotel. The Lalo Hotel itself is a beautiful location. They have a rooftop patio. It had some beautiful live music, beautiful ambiance, views of the city of Waikiki right in the downtown area, and they hit us with one of the best old fashions we've had in 2024. It was called the Meet Me at Midnight, which came in at a 9.9. It was made with a Don Julio Reposado, and they also had a house-made champagne agave syrup. So this was a tequila-based old fashioned, and I think what really put it over the top, which is why they're in the top 5, was this house-made champagne agave syrup. I'm still trying to experiment with this recipe to come up with this champagne agave syrup, but it really blended with the Reposado extremely well. The best tequila old fashioned we had throughout the entire year, no doubt. Price point, $25. One of the most expensive old fashions in the 4.5 years of doing these reviews. However, it was not the most expensive old fashioned of 2024. We're gonna get into that in a few minutes. The most expensive one was more than double that, so stay tuned for that one. Every single top 5 old fashioned we're gonna do is definitely gonna have some clarified ice. They're also gonna have some nice, beautiful glasses along with some beautiful garnishes. Some people do some stamps, they smoke it, plus they add a little garnish, but all of them are gonna have clarified ice, which is the most important part of an old fashioned in my opinion. It's gonna make the consistency of the old fashioned remain the same throughout the entire experience, and it's not gonna dilute the cocktail. So beautiful glass, beautiful piece of clarified ice. I remember they had this beautiful little like clothespin with a beautiful little leaf that was on the side of it. Nothing too crazy, but still elegant and fancy. And this was the smoothest, and I like to say the cleanest tequila old fashioned that we've had in 2024, possibly throughout the entire 4.5 years. When in Waikiki Beach, highly recommend the Hideout at the Lalo Hotel for the perfect tequila-based old fashioned. P.S. Hideout, if you're watching this, please DM me with the champagne agave simple syrup recipe. Thank you, love you. Let's get into number 4. Number 4 and number 3 are actually tied. These are in no particular order because they have the same score, but we'll just say number 4 is gonna be the Joshua Wilton House, which is located in Harrisonburg, Virginia. For this particular month, we featured all Harrisonburg, Virginia bars, lounges, restaurants, etc. The Joshua Wilton House is a historic house that was built by Joshua Wilton, a Canadian guy in the 1800s. He then turned it into a low-income housing unit, which rented out multiple units in the house. It then turned into a fraternity for JMU, and it is now a beautiful restaurant. I remember when we walked into the Joshua Wilton House, just viewing it from the street, you can tell it's going to be a beautiful spot to enjoy a cocktail and have some dinner dinner. As soon as you walk in, they have multiple different rooms that you can dine in. However, we sat at this little like private lounge, if you will. It felt very, very chic, almost like a gentleman's lounge that you could go, have a cocktail, have some conversation, and just relax. The bar was about the size of this bar, if not maybe just a little bigger. They had 3 or 4 seats at the bar. Just felt like a great place that you would want to enjoy an old fashioned. Joshua Wilton House was doing a smoked old fashioned. They had a beautiful glass along with a giant piece of clarified ice. It was actually the only location in Harrisonburg that we found that had clarified ice. We were 1 for 4 out of that series. And not only smoked the old fashioned, but they had a beautiful stamp on that piece of clarified ice. We're always looking for those mixologists that are going the extra mile with the small details. So we want a beautiful glass. We want the clarified ice. We want maybe a nice garnish stamp. Whatever you can do to make it a little bit more chic and sexy so we enjoy that overall appearance, we're in for it. The old fashioned at Joshua Wilton was using a Rittenhouse rye. It was incredibly smooth. I remember that first sip. It was so good that I took a second sip and third sip. After the first sip, we typically go into the ambiance of the restaurant, but I took a second and third skip and couldn't even get into it just because it was just hit. Incredibly clean, incredibly well balanced. It was a classic old fashioned recipe. No gimmicks, no riffs, none of that. Just clean, classic, old fashioned ingredients and recipe, perfectly balanced by the mixologist at the Joshua Wilton House. And this came in at a 9.95. Harrisonburg, Virginia. We highly recommend the Joshua Wilton House when visiting. Let's jump into number 3. Number 3 again was tied with number 4. So technically 4 could be 3, 3 could be 4. It was located in Washington, D.C. and it was called STFU. STFU is a beautiful lounge / speakeasy location located in the Navy Yard district of Washington, D.C. I remember when we walked in, it was very low lighting, very, very intimate atmosphere when you walk in there. Perfect place to enjoy a cocktail, have some conversation, and enjoy some nice music. They were playing some chill EDM, a little bit of Afro house. It's a nice location to kind of just get a little bit of stimulation with the music and ambiance, but it's not like incredibly loud, crazy EDM just in your ear. The perfect spot to enjoy a cocktail if you're not trying to rage, but you're still just trying to have a little bit more fun than your typical lounge area. This was the Bardstown Smoked Old Fashioned. This is one of the most unique old fashions we've ever reviewed. It was made with a Bardstown bourbon, Douce cognac. They had banana, chocolate, oranges, and cloves in this recipe. Certainly not your classic old fashioned recipe, definitely a riff. I remember off that first sip, I said, this is what heaven tastes like. It just blew my socks off. Incredibly, incredibly good, super unique, coming in at a $20 price point, which isn't bad considering we had some $25 ones and we even had some higher ones, especially considering it's located in Washington, D.C., which can get very, very pricey because there's so many different restaurants, bars, and the competition is incredibly high. The ambiance at STFU, again, low lighting, intimate, nice music. I remember they had some beautiful chandeliers, a beautiful, nice, huge bar that you could sit at, order some cocktails, or you could sit in your own little section that had some nice velvet couches, very intimate and cozy. It felt incredibly similar to a lot of lounges in the Las Vegas area. Just a great place in the DC area to grab some cocktails. We highly, highly recommend STFU, which came in at a 9.95, 0.5 points off of a perfect 10. Let's jump into number 2. The number 2 old fashioned of 2024 and the number 1 old fashioned of 2024 are both tied. So let's just say they're both number 1s. The first number 1 old fashioned of 2024 is going to be located in Las Vegas, Nevada at the Bellagio Hotel at a speakeasy called The Vault. The Vault is a speakeasy located dead center of Bellagio. It's actually incredibly hard to find because there's no sign, there's no directions to it. They actually don't even advertise it anywhere. There's just a door in the middle of the casino that has like the Vault logo on it, and you open it up and it's like you step into an entirely different world. This was the highest price point old fashioned that we've ever reviewed to date. I don't think we're ever gonna have one that's more expensive than this. However, I wouldn't be surprised if we did find one. This came in at a $60 price point. Now, why are you paying $60 for a cocktail at any location? As soon as we walked in, they actually gave us some complimentary snacks, appetizers, if you will. They actually gave us a nice little complimentary welcome shot when we came in. So yes, you're paying $60 for this quote unquote cocktail. However, they're providing some complimentary snacks and some smaller drinks just so you enjoy the overall experience. So in my opinion, it kind of all balances out. The appearance after 4.5 years of doing a review every single Friday is unmatched. Giant piece of clarified ice, beautiful huge glass, a stamp in the bottom of the ice. Typically it's on the top of the ice. I actually didn't even recognize that they had a stamp in it at the bottom of the ice until I was close to finishing the cocktail, and you could see that it said Vault on the bottom of the piece of ice cube. And not only did that, but they smoked the old fashioned. They had a nice little moment, smoke, which I'm a sucker for. And besides that, they had these German glasses that actually spun up when you spun them in place. $60, I'm here for the spinning glasses. We've never seen it to date. I'm still trying to find these German glasses that look like this, that when you sit down can spin by themselves. I still have yet to find them. I want these exact glasses that they have at the Bellagio. So Bellagio Vault, if you're watching this episode, please shoot me a DM. Let me know where I can purchase these glasses because I would love to have them here in my home bar. This old fashioned was actually made with a Hibiki whiskey, which is a Japanese whiskey made by Suntory. Suntory is the oldest distillery in Japan. In my opinion, it is the best whiskey out of all their whiskeys that they make. I would also argue that this is the best whiskey in the world. They also make Yamazaki, Yamazaki 12, Yamazaki 18, Yamazaki 55, etc. They make Hibiki 12, 17, 21. It's also, I think, the nicest bottle in the world as far as any bourbon or whiskey is concerned. Like, you got this Pappy here. A lot of people would run their next door neighbor over just to get a bottle of this. This is good juice. This bottle blows this out of the water. When you make an old fashioned made with Hibiki, you're gonna get more of a scotch and malt type flavor. So it's incredibly difficult to blend the other ingredients in there and clean that malt flavor up. I'm not a huge fan of the heavy malt flavors. It tastes very similar to scotch. They have a house-made Demerara syrup at the Vault. Whatever they're doing with their house-made Demerara syrup is why this got a perfect score. It is not easy to make an old fashioned with a Hibiki and make it as clean as they made it. Props to the mixologists at the Vault. The Vault itself, one of the most beautiful locations to have a cocktail in. You get your own private table, low lighting, very intimate setting, huge, giant, beautiful chandelier that probably cost a gazillion dollars, located directly in the center. They also have an incredible bourbon selection. They had all the Pappies, they had all the Wellers. So whether you're going there for a $60 old fashioned or you just want to drink some nice bourbon, it certainly has one of the best selections of bourbon and whiskey in all of Las Vegas, if not the entire city. This has only happened 2 other times prior to this episode where somebody got a perfect 10. 2023, we actually didn't have any 10s at all. If you're getting a 10, you're getting it because it is literally perfection from the appearance, from the first sip to the last sip, and the ambiance of your establishment. It is very rare, which is why we didn't have one the entire year last year. We got lucky enough to find the Vault at Bellagio, Las Vegas, Nevada, and it came in at a perfect score, 10 out of 10. Definitely recommend the Vault when visiting Las Vegas. Last but not least, we have the second #1 old fashioned of 2024, which is located right here in Virginia, South Riding, Virginia, to be particular, and this was at Sense of Thai. Sense of Thai originally opened up in Ashburn, Virginia. They just recently opened up this new location in South Riding, Virginia. Beautiful, beautiful ambiance as soon as you step foot inside Sense of Thai. Giant bar with all these brass fixings. They have these beautiful murals of peacocks and peacock logos throughout the entire restaurant, which is their new and updated logo for Sense of Thai. It's just a beautiful setting. I would argue it's one of the most beautiful restaurants in all of Virginia. Every single detail, from the paint on the walls to the color selection, is literally perfection. Giant chandelier in the middle of the restaurant. There's a side kind of private area. It's just perfection from start to finish, and they built and designed this restaurant. Sense of Thai has a very unique old fashioned. They're doing a classic old fashioned recipe. However, they're doing 50% rye and 50% bourbon. I don't know that we've ever stepped foot into another restaurant that did different bourbons or whiskeys in their old fashioned, especially like 50 rye, 50 bourbon. The old fashioned was served in one of my favorite glasses you can purchase. They're so nice that I actually purchased an entire set for my home bar, which is what we have right here. They had a giant piece of clarified ice. They had a stamp on top of the clarified ice, perfectly cut piece of orange, nice Luxardo cherry. The first sip was incredibly well balanced. It's just perfection from the first sip to the last sip to the ambiance, which is why it got a perfect score. Sense of Thai actually has, and I'm gonna state this, the best mixologist in the entire DMV area. He goes by the name of Jeremy Ross. I've worked with Ross over the past few years on a lot of different projects. Every single thing that this man touches or puts his mind to turns into a hugely successful venture. He's so particular on the small details, and it's not just the old fashioned. They have a slew of other cocktails that you can go there and get, and I promise you, you're not gonna see any other recipes similar to Sense of Thai anywhere else in the DMV. They're definitely not gonna hit and taste as good as their old fashioned did. Sense of Thai came in at a perfect score, 10 out of 10, rightfully so, and was the highest reviewed old fashioned in the state of Virginia at 2024, and tied the Bellagio Vault at a much lower price point. For a third of the cost, you get that same experience that we got at the Vault. Those are the top 5 old fashions of 2024. If you want to see what the best old fashions are for 2025, hit us with a follow, subscribe, like. We're going to be reviewing them every single Friday in the DMV area and when we travel around. Last but not least, Sense of Thai coming in at a perfect score, 10 out of 10. Highly recommend when in South Riding, Virginia. Virginia is for Grubbers. Cheers.